So, Jet, welcome. I'm glad to meet you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for
We
taking time out of your day to help me.
we just started talking, and immediately stumbled right into the main topic that isn't everybody's life. Everybody is dissatisfied, and they're trying to find satisfaction someplace.
Hmm.
There is nothing else to it. So we think we're going to be satisfied if we get a girl. And she thinks she's going to get satisfied when she gets a man. But neither one of them are satisfied for long, and they start making demands upon each other. And sometimes when a guy can't get a girl, he buys a car. They call it a chick magnet. And so here we are going around and around in the sense of if we want to go from A to C, we go to B and D and F and G and all kinds of places trying to get back to the original point. And that is that we want to find satisfaction. And this is what the teaching of the Buddha is all about, is how to find satisfaction. And when one is really satisfied with one's life, then that can be called enlightenment. But everybody's got an idea of what enlightenment is, and it's often a magical idea because there's a lot of magical thinking in humans. And part of that is that, oh, if I could get magic, then I would be satisfied. If I could get power, I would be satisfied. The power of money, the power of force, or the power of magic, and all of that. We seek power because we think we're going to be satisfied. And basically, all we do is we hurt ourselves and hurt others, and then they want to hurt us back because they want satisfaction out of the revenge. And so around and around humans go because we are not taking the direct path to satisfaction. And that's what the actual practice is. Now, I
Hmm.
will make a point about the word meditation, that in fact I would go so far as to say I'm not a meditation teacher. I don't teach meditation. I teach the Dhamma, and I teach to practice the Dhamma, and that practicing over and over again, to do it again and again, to rinse and repeat and repeat and repeat. That's the clue. That any time you find yourself in dissatisfaction, which is going to be quite often for a while, you immediately change that from being dissatisfied into satisfied. And I'm going to show you how to do that in a moment.
Hmm.
But that's the whole point. That in fact, in the Pali language, the language of the suttas, Magati, that they call Pali, is says dukkha, dukkha that's all he teaches. Dukkha is the word for dissatisfaction. Now, in Buddhism in the West, it's translated as to suffering, but suffering's a great, great big thing. And when things are really, really big and heavy, they're hard to deal with. But when something is really small, it's much easier to deal with. And so that's what we're going to be looking for, is not the great big dissatisfactions of life, but the little momentary ones, the
Hmm.
ones that arise in the mind, our thoughts. And if we are having an unhappy or unwholesome or dissatisfying thought, then we get into a dissatisfied mood. And then the body becomes dissatisfied. We can make ourselves sick with being dissatisfied. But the other way around is that we can change that thought from an unwholesome, unsatisfying thought into a satisfying thought. And we can do that with the path. So this whole point about dukkha, dukkha nirodha, or dissatisfaction turning into satisfaction, is not a long-term process. It's something that happens immediately because it's so lightweight. I mean, you probably already understand that your mind jumps around from one thing to the other, to the other, to the other. In Buddhism, they call that the monkey mind. It's just jumping and jumping and jumping around. So that actually proves on its own that the mind can change. All we have to do is be careful or mindful about which direction the monkey mind is going to jump. So that's the basic point of it. Now, that dukkha dukkha nirodha, or dissatisfaction and dissatisfaction, breaks into the Four Noble Truths. And now, dissatisfaction, a lot of people will say that life itself is suffering, life itself is dukkha. But no, life itself is wonderful, it's marvelous. Wouldn't you rather be alive than dead? If
Yeah.
somebody pulled a gun on you, would you prefer them to use it on you or to not use it on you?
To not use it on me.
All right, to not. So that means that, in fact, we think life is precious. So it's not life itself that is dukkha, it's our dissatisfactions with life. That, in fact, much of the dissatisfaction of life is that we think somebody's got a gun pointed at us when, in fact, there's no guns there, not in reality. And so basically, what the cause of suffering is not something on the outside. It's not life itself that's suffering, it's our attitude, it's our belief systems, it's our um, thought patterns. And most of those thought patterns are ignorant because we're dissatisfied and we don't even know we're dissatisfied. That's amazing, isn't it? The people that are dissatisfied, they don't even know they're dissatisfied. They don't recognize that much of the stuff that they do all day long is to do with being satisfied or not satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you begin to look at it, to see, any time that you can think of it, you can think of, are you satisfied right now or are you not? And if you're not, then you can get yourself back into a state of satisfaction. Okay, and there's a method for that. So you ever heard of the word Four Noble Truths?
Heard of it a handful of times, but I don't know the concept of it.
Well, I've just been covering it for you. Okay, the first noble truth is that there is dissatisfaction. And number two is that we create our dissatisfaction ignorantly. We become dissatisfied and we don't even know that we become dissatisfied, and we don't know how we got dissatisfied.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know how to get back into a state of satisfaction. And then the third noble truth is that we can become satisfied. It's possible. In fact, often you're satisfied. You become satisfied. I mean, you can take a dish of food and take a bite of it, and you like it, and you're satisfied right then. And then you think of the fight that you just had, and now you're dissatisfied. And then you take another bite, and oh, it tastes very good. And so while we're eating a meal, we can go in and out of satisfaction and dissatisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't even know it. We don't even know that we're making those shifts. And so this is the whole point then, is to wake up to these shifts that we're making and begin to control them. That in fact, you can control your life. You can become the boss. You can become the winner of your life, being on top of the world. All you have to do is to figure out how to be satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. All right. So there is a method to it, and that method is referred to as the Eightfold Noble Path. And that we start with the way that the Buddha started is that our attitude or our view or our way of looking is the first thing that we have to work with. That in fact, you called me because you had already seen that you had some dissatisfactions. Yeah. All right. So that means now at least you're aware of it to a degree, and that we're going to work with that more and more. So the second item on the path is what is called sati, and it's translated into English as mindfulness. And I think that you probably heard of the word mindfulness. Mindfulness meditation, mindfulness based stress reduction, and other things like this. So you have heard of the word mindfulness. Well, what it actually we're looking at here is the Pali word sati, which actually means to wake up. Wakey, wakey. Let's look at what's going on. Let's remember to be in the present moment rather than thinking about something that happened in the past or planning on the future. Because generally, if we're thinking about the past, it's because we're dissatisfied with the past. And so we want to fix the past, which means now we're off into the future. And life is always lived right here, right now. This breath, this moment is what's real. The past is not real anymore. It's gone. The future is not real. It's yet to be. The reality is only right now. And so coming out of our dissatisfactions about things that are not real into the reality of the moment can be quite satisfying. And so to remember to wake up and look at what we're doing. Now, there's a third element to it. To wake up, look at what you're doing, and make a change right then and there. To wake up, take a look at what you're thinking, and make a change. Wake up, look at your posture, and make a change. Sit up straight. Put a smile on. You know, we can do anything like that because we can remember to do it. And if we remember to do it, we can do it. And if we don't remember, we won't. You said you were, or you didn't, yeah, you said you were a fan of Bruce Lee and that you watch a lot of the movies. What would you think of Bruce Lee as if in one of those movies that we pretend is real, that all of a sudden he forgot how to fight? If he forgot how to fight, he can't fight. If he remembers how to fight, he can fight. All right? Well, if you remember to look at what you're doing, you can make a change. And if you don't remember to look at what you're doing, then you get stuck in the old system that's going to bring dissatisfaction. And I bet you didn't even recognize you had that kind of choice.
I wasn't even aware of it.
No, but you do. And that's part of the ignorance is that we're not aware of that any choice we can make a change about how we feel. We can make a choice about the things that we're thinking about. Okay, so this point of remembering to make a change, one of the ways the Buddha talks about it is just to gladden the mind or to brighten the mind. And we can do that with words like, hey, I can handle this. You see, a victim wants to win. A real winner doesn't care whether he wins or not because he's already proven to himself that he's a winner. So he doesn't have to keep proving it. So if you get yourself into a point that you got to win this argument or you got to win that score or whatever like that, if you got to do it, then that's coming out of a state of deprivation or dissatisfaction. Oh, I've got to get it in order to feel satisfied. But if you already have the attitude that you're a winner here and you've got dissatisfaction, then you don't have to get into those arguments. Yeah. So Bruce Lee, he can remember how to fight, but often in the movies, he doesn't remember how to not fight. And so that's the way that we're going to start working here is we're going to remember to not fight with ourselves.
Okay, hold on for 1 second. My alarm's going upstairs.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
All right.
I'm back.
All right. You had to go take care of what?
Yo, my alarm was going off. It was kind of,
The alarm was going off.
yeah.
Okay, so here we were talking about satisfaction and you were enjoying the conversation, and then the alarm went off and you immediately became dissatisfied. Did you recognize that?
I guess through the period because I had to go up and kind of interrupt what I was
Yeah, and
doing.
you don't want that to happen, so you're dissatisfied that the alarm went off.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a brilliant point right there. Remember that so that you can see that just an alarm going off is going to put you in a state of dissatisfaction. Why
Okay.
is that? It's basically because we've got rules about things, especially in this case, you got a rule about an alarm clock. That the easy thing to have done was to say, hey, Dhammarato, can you hear that alarm clock? And since I can't hear it, it doesn't matter whether it goes off or not.
Mm-hmm.
For me, but for you, you became dissatisfied when you heard the alarm go off.
It did.
All right. So that's an intuitive way of looking at what we're talking about. Because you followed your normal way. You did what you always would do. You didn't make a change. You reacted rather than responded. Mhm. So this whole practice is about seeing those dissatisfactions that we have immediately and then do something new about it.
So is it just like kind of just taking a, I guess when the thoughts just start to, those dissatisfying thoughts kind of arise, you just take a pause and just consciously, I guess consciously gladden the mind.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I hear that alarm clock go off and it's not going to make me dissatisfied.
Okay.
And in fact, they don't go for long. So this is the teaching of the Buddha is that we can, if we can see this dissatisfaction, if we can see the dukkha, then we can make a change so that we don't have to feel bad. We don't have to have unwholesome thoughts, that we can wake up to it and says, aha, I see you.
Mm-hmm.
Aha, I see you, dissatisfaction. I see the thought that I had about the alarm clock. Oh, I should.
Hello? Hello? It froze for a second.
Yes, that's because the power went off here,
Oh, okay.
but it came back on. So this is the idea. Aha, I see you. Because what most students do is when they catch that they're dissatisfied, they become dissatisfied with being dissatisfied
Mm-hmm.
rather than just never mind that dissatisfaction. Let's come back into the present moment and be happy.
Mm-hmm.
That's the trick. Because most people, when they see themselves dissatisfied, they'll become dissatisfied with being dissatisfied. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it's just kind of like a cycle that just feeds itself, whether you choose to or
Mm-hmm.
not. So,
And people don't wake up to that. So this is part of the way is to recognize that there is dukkha there and that you have a choice now about getting out of it rather than keeping in that cycle.
mm-hmm.
All right. An example of that would be there was a famous teacher named Goenka,
Oh yeah,
and
I heard.
he had a phrase. You've heard of him, okay?
Yeah.
So Goenka says, when the mind wanders away from the breath, never mind, start again. And yet many people, when they recognize, when they see, when they wake up to and recognize that their mind has wandered away from the breath, instead of making a change, they start fussing at themselves. Oh, meditation is hard. Oh, I wish that I would have a better mind. Oh, this is a monkey mind. Oh, maybe the teacher's not giving good instructions. Oh, I don't know what the problem is, okay? And you see that they're staying in that state of dissatisfaction rather than, hot dog, I caught that one. Let me just start again.
Yeah.
So we're going to start to be happy that we can see that we're miserable. Because our only choice is to continue being miserable once we find out that we're miserable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Once we see we're miserable, we have a choice. Once we can see that we're dissatisfied, we can come back and be satisfied. Once we find the mind being in an unwholesome state, its propensity is to stay unwholesome, spinning around in the unwholesome. And as soon as you see it, the thing to do is to jump out of it
Mm-hmm.
mentally. Aha, I see that. Rather than staying in the dissatisfaction, we're going to make a change. We're going to gladden the mind. We're going to experience the moment as it is.
Mm-hmm.
And there are things that we can say then mentally that are completely different than whatever unwholesome thoughts are. We can have wholesome thoughts now. Wow, I'm glad I caught that, or wow, I don't have to do that work right now. So if we're thinking about doing some work, we can say, I don't have to do that right now. I can wait.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can sit here and just be happy for a few moments. No place to go and nothing to do. Everything is all right. And we bring ourselves back into a state of satisfaction. Now,
So,
part of that go ahead.
oh, I was gonna ask you, because sometimes, like, my bad, I cut you off, but sometimes, like days when I'm satisfied or things just kind of turn left, like I kind of have a habit of like being addicted to things, how things was. So I don't know how to just kind of get myself out of that, or is it just pretty much. Just,
All right. So whenever you see yourself longing for the past, wanting things to not change, the recognition is that everything changes and you have a chance to change too. So when the times change, you change with them
oh,
so that you become satisfied with how things changed too. You were satisfied the way that it was. You weren't probably even aware that you were satisfied the way things were, but when they changed, now you're dissatisfied because they changed. Can you wake up and say, hey, I see that I just became dissatisfied when I reminisced about something that had changed? And guess what? I can't do anything about it. If my favorite cup fell off the counter and broke on the floor, all I can do is change the way I feel. I can't change whether the cup broke or not. Can't change that. That's in the past. It's already done. So, if that's the case, then all I can do is stop dropping and breaking my mind on the floor over the cup that broke on the floor. I don't have to do that. I can be okay with the cup being broken. I've got that choice.
mm-hmm.
Many times we don't have the choice about what happens, but we have the choice about the way that we feel about it if we can recognize that the only alternative is the old way is to be dissatisfied.
Mm-hmm.
And you can change that so that you can become satisfied because you can't change what happened, but you can change your mind. That's what it's all about is that it's not what happens, it's how we feel about it and whether or not we can change our old style of feeling by talking to ourselves about, wow, I'm really glad that I can see that I'm dissatisfied.
Mm-hmm.
That cup broke last week, and my thought about it is, and I'm still dissatisfied because I miss my cup. Yeah. So that's how we do it. And we do that with broken cups, broken relationships, broken cars, broken bank accounts, broken everything. And just because it broke, we feel bad. Rather than recognizing that we've got a choice, we don't have to feel bad because the cup broke or the car broke. That in
Mm-hmm.
fact, more than likely, when the relationship breaks, it's broke because both people are dissatisfied. And if we're not dissatisfied with the relationship, it probably isn't going to be nearly as broken.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the whole teaching of the Buddha, right there in a nutshell. Let's play a little game about, oh, well, what about enlightenment? What about nirvana? What about nibbana? What about all of that stuff that's so high up there? Arahats and all of that kind of stuff. Well, if you're completely satisfied, then you don't need those labels. But if somebody's enlightened and has to make sure that you know he's enlightened, then he's not. Because he's not satisfied. That if you put that label on it about if we can be satisfied, that's all there is to it. But then you begin to feel like a champion. Your satisfaction is so good that you know you can handle anything. And that gives you an attitude of a winner. I can handle anything because I
Mm-hmm.
can remain satisfied no matter what goes down. And then we have great power. That's the spiritual power to be able to handle anything. Can't touch me. You know that song. Da, 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 da. Yeah, can't touch me. All right. That's the kind of attitude that we bring on.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to be a martial artist or a pop star to have that attitude. And in fact, if you develop that attitude in your own mind, you'll become a pop star. And other people will see that. You can see that Keyshawn has something. Yeah, he's got something.
Yeah, I
Okay.
know.
And it's available to you too. That's why he gave you my contact, that you can get that mojo. You can get that attitude that they can't touch me. Often people get into a state of wanting revenge. They want to get back. They want to retry. They want a do over. They want a second round, right? Why is that? Because they're dissatisfied with the past. They want to do it again. They probably lose again and be dissatisfied again. And so around and around and around they go. But if you have the attitude of a winner, if you have a good life anyway, then we don't need to get back. We don't need that revenge. They say that, in fact, revenge is best served cold, which means wait until they're not expecting them and then blindside them. But there's another way of thinking about it, and that is the best revenge, the sweetest revenge, is to live well, is to be okay. In other words, they didn't touch you. Whatever it was that they didn't get to you. They can't touch you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the way to look at it is that they can't get to you, they can't touch you. You're satisfied and you can remain satisfied with whatever happens.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is actually the practice, and we call the practice anapanasati. And this is the fairly well understood now that that's the only teaching or the only practice that the Buddha gave, the only meditation, if you use that word, that he gave was this mindfulness of breathing that has this quality of the Eightfold Noble Path that I've been discussing with you, of waking up, seeing that you've got that dissatisfaction and making a change. And pretty soon you can see the dissatisfaction coming. It's like you can see the arrow in the air and you can dodge it. You
Mm-hmm.
can see the insults in the air before you get hit with them. Like the
Well,
baseball star, instead of getting hit in the head with the baseball, he catches it handsomely.
mm-hmm.
Okay,
Well,
so that's how we deal with things. The insults and slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. Be ready for it. Wakey, wakey. Catch it in the air, or it'll slap you in the face.
mm-hmm.
You're about to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah, but some days, like, let's say, like, I guess for example, say, like, I'm doing my schoolwork, like, I have, like, a barrage of thoughts, like, oh, I don't feel like doing it, I don't want to do it, or, like, I'm tired, like, a whole bunch of, like,
Unwholesome thoughts, yes.
yeah, it's just, like,
Unhappy.
thoughts of it. Like, I'd be like, all right, I'm going to do it one step at a time, but it's, like, it, like, it's, like, it's like a small walk, like the rock, like the small rock, which like I guess kind of like stopping and kind of just reinforcing, just doing the work, and then like a whole giant wave of just like dissatisfying thoughts, just kind of like knocks down the rock, so to speak. So I'm just kind of
Mm-hmm.
figure out how to just like stay sturdy or stay grounded.
Right. Well, that's the whole point is you got to focus on the wrong thing. Instead of focusing on the rock, focus on the wave because the wave is not fully a wave. It's just one drop at a time.
Um,
Just a lot of them, but it's just one thought at a time, right? So the way to handle that, if you're in a task that you don't really want to do and you're telling yourself all of these unwholesome thoughts about it, the right thing to do is to remember to wake up and to see that, oh, I'm in a state of dissatisfaction. Let me change that. And here's what we would do, we would say, whatever work that is that I don't want to do right now, and telling myself all this stuff about it, I probably won't be doing a very good job of it anyway. So let me stop doing that job and spend 3 or 4 or 5 minutes getting my mind back together so that I will be happy doing that task.
mhm.
And that would be possible. Let us say that you work for an hour on some homework. Wouldn't it be better, instead of working on the homework, starting off in a dissatisfied mood, is to spend the first 5 minutes getting yourself into satisfaction? And then you do a little bit of it, and then you get dissatisfied again. And so you stop and you get yourself back into a state of satisfaction again.
Mhm.
And then you do some of it and more and more. And then you get dissatisfied again. And so you stop and you get yourself back into a state of satisfaction again. And then you go do the work again. And pretty soon you wind up spending about the same amount of time doing the work, dissatisfied. And now you're doing the work being satisfied, sprinkled in with other times of stopping the work and getting satisfied. And you'll wind up probably getting more done, happierly done, better done if you're in a state of happiness when you're doing it. And
Mhm.
so this is the way, oh, I don't want to do that right now. I want to sit and relax. I don't know what to do about that. In fact, I was confused. But while I'm sitting here, the idea comes from, aha, now I know what to do. And so I'll go and I'll do that one. All right, that's the way to do it is do it through inspiration that pops up because we're satisfied. But it's really hard for it to pop up when we're spinning the mind in dissatisfaction.
Mhm.
hmm So the thing to do then is to work on getting the mind back satisfied, saying things like, oh, I don't have to do it right now. Oh, I'm going to be restful and at peace. Oh, I can gladden my mind. I can feel really, really good for a moment. And get yourself back into the feeling of satisfaction. That you're just satisfied. You're not doing the work and you're still satisfied. Because you know that you can do it better when you're in a state of satisfaction. Hmm.
Mhm.
So that's exactly how you would plan that. is whenever you're doing something and you don't like doing it, stop two things. Stop doing the work and stop hating doing the work. And get yourself away from it. Take a break. Go to the bathroom. Get yourself some coffee. Or better still, get your mind together. Get your mojo back. Tell yourself, oh, I can do that. I just don't want to do it right now, but I can do it beautifully later.
Okay.
That's the way that we practice, okay? And so I would recommend then that you start to practice on a formal kind of a schedule. And I would recommend 6 times a day for 5 minutes. We're only talking about a half hour a day. And wouldn't it be really nice to spend a half hour a day throughout the day, 5 minutes at a time, feeling really good?
Oh, let me see. All right, I was just writing that down.
I know. Because you thought it was such a good idea, you don't want to forget it. But you won't forget it, even if you don't write it down. You'll remember. Okay, so here's the times that we're going to do this. The most important time is when you wake up and when you go to bed. Because when we wake up in the morning, almost never do we wake up and immediately get out of bed. We'll put the snooze alarm on. Mm-hmm. So the mind is like that too. We can wake up a little bit, or we can wake up a lot. So the first thing that I would say in the morning, before you get out of bed, spend 5 minutes thinking about, wow, I'm going to get a lot done today. Wow, today is going to be a really great day. Well, ain't nothing going to bother me today. I can handle anything today. Start having those kind of positive, wholesome thoughts. And then when you get up out of bed, you'll be getting out of bed really well.
So
The
just
difference between
gliding.
getting off, they saw it the right side of the bed and the wrong side of the bed. Oh, he got up off the wrong side of the bed today because he's so dissatisfied. Well, you can get yourself ready to have a satisfied day right in the early morning. As soon as you wake up, you can say, wow, what a good day this is. Wow, I can handle this. Well, I can lay in bed here for the next 5 minutes and feel just really good. And then at night, when people go to sleep, it's quite common. In fact, there's a lot of rules about it, about how much sleep you're supposed to get, and you're supposed to go to bed and go to sleep at a particular time. Instead of going according to your own biological clock, you're going according to the alarm clock. The alarm clock is running your life. And people will say, oh, I've got so much to do tomorrow. I got to get to sleep. But then they start thinking about all the stuff they got to do tomorrow. A better kind of thought was, oh, this is so nice. No place to go and nothing to do for the next 8 hours. No place to go and nothing to do for the next all night long. Doesn't even matter whether I sleep or not. What matters is that I lay here and feel good. No worries, no flurries, no place to go. I'm not going to be doing any emails tonight, so why should I think about emails? I'm not going to do any programming tonight, and why should I be thinking about programming tonight? I'm not going to be digging any ditches or working on any cars tonight. I'm in bed, so why am I thinking about it? And we can just stop thinking about all that kind of stuff and think about how nice it is that I don't have to do anything at all. And then we can drift into sleep very happily, which means that then we're less likely to have nightmares or dreams or anything. It's because the mind is clean. Most people They worry themselves into sleep, and then they worry all night while they're sleeping. And the better thing to do is to get yourself into a really good state before you go to sleep at night, and then you can sleep well.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the 2 times it's really valuable to practice anapanasati, to remember to take good, easy breaths. No place to go and nothing to do. And so that only leaves 4 times during the day, like break time, on the way to work, traveling, where in Atlanta you probably use some public transportation. So that's a good time to practice. At lunchtime, that's a good time to practice. When we're eating, all this is delicious. Let me pay attention to what I'm eating rather than paying attention to what work I've got to do after I finish eating. Let me enjoy what I'm doing right now. So this is the way that we practice. And pretty soon we remember to practice correctly even more and more often. But we do have to do it a little bit formally. We have to actually put the effort into it, to take the time to actually practice doing this. And then pretty soon it begins to be easier. Easy, but we have to practice.
Mm-hmm.
Persistence, over and over again. In fact, one of the little jokes that we tell is that the entire teachings of the Buddha is on every shampoo bottle at 7-Eleven and in the grocery stores. They all have the entire teachings of the Buddha right there on the shampoo bottle. The entire teachings of the Buddha can be summed up in the phrase, rinse and repeat.
That's like Karate Kid.
Rinse and repeat. Rinse your mind out, clean your mind out of those unwholesome thoughts, and then do it again. And then do it again, because those unwholesome thoughts will keep coming back. You're in the habit of it. One of the ways of saying it, you've been talking to yourself for your whole life, of talking yourself into feeling bad. Now we're going to start talking ourselves into feeling good. And we're going to remember to do that. Because if we forget, then we're just going to keep talking to ourselves into feeling bad. So we have to practice. We have to remember to practice. And what is the practice? Is to wake up and see that's dukkha. I'm dissatisfied with that. Ha ha, I see that dissatisfaction. Let me drop that and become satisfied again.
Okay.
To rinse and repeat. Remember to clean that mind out. And then do it again. And then do it again. And then do it again. It's got to be done over and over and over again. But you can. You know you can. If you can do it one time, you can do it a second time. If you can do it a second time, you can do it a third time. In fact, I've seen you go in and out of satisfaction, dissatisfaction several times. I saw you run up and turn the alarm clock. I saw you take and write stuff down. The only reason you wrote stuff down is because you were afraid that you'd forget, and you were dissatisfied right there in that moment. So that's the thing to do, is to start looking for these little dissatisfactions so that we can see them and say, aha, I caught that one. Because the normal thing that people are going to do is, I caught it. Oh, poor me. Oh, what am I going to do? I can never remember. And that's all a bunch of unwholesome thoughts. And a wholesome thought would be, aha, I caught you. I can do this. I can take on a positive attitude. I can look on the bright side of life. Life is wonderful. Why do people go around being miserable when they could be thinking about how nice and wonderful things are? A lot of guys do time in prison because they were dissatisfied. And so they went because they were dissatisfied and did something that made them even more, and a whole lot of other people, dissatisfied.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But if we can be in a state of satisfaction, then we're free. We don't have to deal with anybody or anything because we're not doing anything to get rid of our dissatisfaction because we can see it and deal with it directly. That's
Okay.
why this is called the direct path. We work with our satisfaction, not with things that will get us satisfaction. Like robbing a liquor store or robbing a bank they think is going to make them satisfied. And no, they need to become satisfied before they rob the liquor store.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Or if they're satisfied before they yell at their girlfriend. Because the only reason you'd ever yell at a girlfriend is because you're dissatisfied. So start looking at the dissatisfactions in life. And when you see them, you can say, aha, I saw that. Now I have a choice. And that's
I
the
guess,
whole teaching.
I guess when those thoughts would come in, like I would do something, I guess out of obligation or to.
Because the obligation says is that if you don't do it, you're going to be dissatisfied.
Mm-hmm.
hmm The question is can you do what's obligated, what's really obligatory? Can you do that happily?
Well, yeah.
So that you don't do things out of dissatisfaction and obligation. You do things because you like doing them. Because you got
Well,
to do it anyway. So why
mhm.
not like doing it?
Yeah, you make a fair point. Yeah.
Let me draw it this way so that you can see it. It's like a four-paned window, like this. All
Mm.
right, one side, the other side, and then up and down. So think of it from side to side is that on this side, you don't like it. No, wait a minute. Let's do it this way. You don't do it. And on this side, you do it.
Mm-hmm.
You either don't do it or you do it. And now on the horizontal, you either like it or you don't like it. Now the question is, are you going to do it and like it or don't do it and like it? Or are you going to don't like it and do it or don't like it and not do it? So you always have four choices. Are you going to do it or not? And the obligations, well, we are going to do that. We make that choice. That's why we call them obligations. The question is can you choose to do the obligations happily or do you have to do them miserably? Because you do have a choice. You don't really have to do it. But often if you don't do it, then you'll feel bad. The question is even if you don't do it, can you feel good? Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Stuff that. Ha ha. So you always have a choice of whether you're going to do it or not, and you always have a choice about how you feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
And you should practice then. The best thing is to practice liking it when you're not doing anything at all. To sit down and do nothing at all and really like, oh, got no place to go and nothing to do. I'm not doing anything. Oh, wow, this is so nice.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we can get ourselves into liking state when we're not doing something, then we can transfer that from liking, not doing, into liking and doing. And now we have a choice. Are we going to do it or not? But we're not going to make a choice about whether we like it or not. We're going to always choose, I like it. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So get yourself into a state of satisfaction, and then we can do stuff in a satisfactory, satisfying way. Another way of thinking about it is this is the process of making friends with ourselves. that you're okay, warts and all. All the crap that's ever happened didn't kill you. Here you are now. You're still alive. So the past don't really matter anymore. Here we are. So we can make friends with ourselves. We don't have to be critical. Oh, you should do this. Oh, you should do that. We can say, well, no, what I should do is be happy. And then I can choose what I'm going to do. Make friends with yourself on the inside. Be comfortable and satisfied with yourself on the inside, and then you can be comfortable and happy and satisfied with people out there and make friends with them too.
Okay.
But being around a whole lot of dissatisfied people that are trying to make you dissatisfied because they're dissatisfied is not wise. An example of that is that when people go into AA to quit drinking, the AA folks recommend don't go back to the bars, because the people who are in the bars see you as a drinker and they want you to stay a drinker. They're going to try to get you to drink too. So don't go back to your old friends. Get some new friends.
Mm-hmm.
Get some Keyshawn kind of friends. Come join us on the Sangha and have some good friends that's going to help you to remember to have a good life, rather than being around people who are unhappy. But if you're really strong and really good at it, then it's okay to be around those unhappy people, because you're going to go and spread your joy. And joy is much more powerful than anger. You just have to keep at it.
Okay.
So we can talk later about that kind of stuff, but right now the very introduction is that your job is to get your mind into a good, happy state, and you can do that just by remembering to do it. Aha, I can throw that stuff out. Aha, I see you, Mr. Unhappiness. Then you can quit doing whatever you're doing and get yourself happy, and then go back and do it happily.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy.
All right, I will do that.
Okay. Well, call me in a few days. Go practice this for a while. And then call me and we'll talk some more, all right?
All right, thank you.
Excellent. Well, I'm really glad to meet you, Jet.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thanks for taking time out of your day to help me.
Pardon?
I was saying thanks for taking time out of your day to help me. Yeah, I appreciate
Yeah. Great. Yeah, I got so much joy, I got to share it.
it. For sure. All right.
Okay. We'll see you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.